36 SummerSlams have occurred, and lots of fun factoids, just like WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble or even Survivor Series, have happened at this event. I was watching a video earlier today, which kind of was talking about stuff that I had already been thinking about heading into this video, and that's who is Mr. SummerSlam. The video I watched earlier today kind of labeled Brock Lesnar as Mr. SummerSlam. He's got a 6-5 record at SummerSlam. We'll see what that is after this Saturday. But his appearances at SummerSlam have been probably the most dominant. His debut was against The Rock, beating him for the Undisputed Championship. You can't have a bigger or a better debut than that. He's squashed Randy Orton at SummerSlam. He's squashed John Cena at SummerSlam. He's faced Triple H at SummerSlam. He's been in a lot of Undertaker. He's been in a ton of high-profile matches at SummerSlam. But when we're talking about statistics alone, the top two, Randy Orton and The Undertaker right now, the top two when it comes to the most SummerSlam matches at 16 matches apiece. Randy Orton 8-7-1 in those 16, while The Undertaker is 10-5-1. And staying on the point of, we talk about Mr. WrestleMania. Well, we all know The Undertaker for his WrestleMania streak, of his undefeated streak and all that. We kind of wonder, though, what are some of those same statistics for SummerSlam? Now, with competitors with 6 or more matches under their belt, there is only one man who is undefeated at the show. That is the immortal Hulk Hogan, who is 6-0. 6-0.
I was going to say.
At SummerSlam. He has the largest gap between SummerSlam appearances, appearing at SummerSlam 1991, even though he was within the company in 92 and just left right before 93 SummerSlam. His last SummerSlam was 91 until he then competed again in 2005. So again, back in the company in 2002, but didn't compete at those. What?
2006. Randy Orton.
Well, that 2006, he faced Randy Orton. In 2005, Shawn Michaels, the infamous Shawn Michaels match. And that is part of the reason why he is actually 6-0 at SummerSlam, because he refused to lose. Shawn Michaels obviously flopped around the ring and kind of a protest in what is a very infamous SummerSlam match, as Hulk Hogan refused to lose that match.
It's Shawn Michaels. Of course he's going to oversell it. I mean, let's be honest. That's Shawn Michaels' thing. Yeah, I mean,
he oversold it, obviously, clearly, in a little bit of being upset that.
Well, here's a cool fact, though. There's a huge gap between Hulk Hogan's first match at SummerSlam, 1988, where he was with Macho Man by his side, and then you have 2006. So if I did my math right there, that's 18 years. That's pretty cool. That. Obviously there was a big gap, like you mentioned, from 91 to 05, but there's a huge gap from when he started to when he finished his career at a SummerSlam pay-per-view. I mean, the immortal Hulk Hogan, he really is immortal. And I want to tell you a fun fact that you might know, but I'm just going to throw it out there. 20 years ago, so 2003, Vincent Kennedy McMahon celebrated his birthday at SummerSlam. So fun fact, go check it if you don't believe me. 2003, it happened to fall on the boss's birthday, and of course Vince, speaking of being, he's got the ego anyways. Of course he's going to celebrate his birthday at the biggest show of the summer.
That is true. It was actually something that was featured on some WWE video footage surfaced later on, but at the time only fans in attendance got to see this post SummerSlam celebration. And hey, anything post going off the air on pay-per-view is unique itself. I've never seen anything really, essentially, when a pay-per-view goes off the air, kind of special for the crowd in attendance. So that might be one of the only times, in history that when a pay-per-view has gone off the air, you get something cool to see. Vince celebrating his birthday in Phoenix.
One more fact. So we spoke of Dominic Mysterio and his tremendous, rise to the nuclear heat of the WWE Universe. He was actually a part of a storyline in SummerSlam 2005 where the custody of Dominic Mysterio came into play, where Rey Mysterio and the late great Eddie Guerrero had a classic match to have custody over Dominic Mysterio. How crazy is that? 18 years later, we have ourselves a nice Dominic Mysterio, run in WWE. Who would have thought that young kid in 2005 would be a nuclear heat for the WWE Universe to boo in 2023. That is very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That is very cool. I still think we've been waiting probably that many years since Vicky Guerrero finally got her cue to come to the ring to interrupt the match, as the infamous "Where the F is Vicky" from Eddie Guerrero, as she was supposed to come out. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero had to stall in that ladder match, waiting for Vicky to come out and do that interference spot at SummerSlam in 2005. I know that SummerSlam very well because I was at my first ever pay-per-view I ever attended was the month prior to that, where they essentially set the seeds for that match when it was Eddie versus Rey at Great American Bash in Buffalo, New York. Some other fun statistics. I'm actually going to throw a question out to you there, Brandon. Which of these three announcers has never called a SummerSlam at the commentary table? Kevin Kelly, Jonathan Coachman, or Tony Schiavone?
Tony Schiavone.
Oh, that is, I threw that out there because that seems like such the easy answer, right? But no, it's Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly's been in the back doing a lot of backstage interviews. But Tony Schiavone, his one and only SummerSlam appearance, him and Jesse Ventura called SummerSlam in 1991. He was at the commentary booth in his very short-lived run in the WWE, WWF back then. Go check it out on Peacock and the WWE Network. So Kevin Kelly never at the booth. He did a lot of Sunday Night Heats, and Kevin Kelly, I want to say, was probably at the booth for at least one pay-per-view event in his career. Mostly known for being at the commentary table for things like Sunday Night Heat and Velocity and all those shows. But Jonathan Coachman definitely has.
I was going to say Coach was the easy answer to me. The reason why I picked Tony Schiavone was we've heard his reported disdain for WWE, and he would never go there again. And I was like, okay, if he doesn't ever want to go there again, did he ever really go there for very long? And I guess you proved me right or wrong on that one. I didn't think he did it, and obviously it was a short-term run. But as far as I can remember, I just know Tony Schiavone would always take digs at WWE, and he would never go there ever again. If anybody's going to stay in AEW until the wheels fall off, Tony Schiavone's your guy. He ain't going to WWE. That's a guarantee. I can tell you that.
We always talk in this show about the fact that WWE, every time they go to Chicago, always goes to the Allstate Arena, formerly known as the Rosemont Horizon. But did you know that SummerSlam 1994 was at the United Center? That's not really a super crazy fact. But the craziness of it is it was the very first ever event, period, at the United Center before the Bulls and the Blackhawks or even any other concert took to the United Center. SummerSlam 1994 opened that building's doors, which makes it so strange many years later that for a televised show, they have never returned, not for a Raw, not for a SmackDown, not for a pay-per-view. So they opened the doors with SummerSlam 1994, and they have never come back, only with the exception of a off-shot house show have they even ever returned in 2018. I think that house show was, and that was because the Allstate Arena was actually booked that night, and they were trying to get in there for the house show. But they've had very few appearances at the United Center. One of them was for SummerSlam 94, a great SummerSlam that should have probably been main evented by Owen versus Bret in the steel cage match. It was main evented by The Undertaker versus Undertaker instead. A very notable SummerSlam nonetheless, though. So that is their one and only televised show at the United Center. We talk about for many reasons why or they did or did not ever return. I know WCW obviously had many nitros and some pay-per-views from the United Center. So in the early and late 2000s or early 90s and late 90s, I mean, it could have been some sort of contract at that time. And then by the time the 2000s kicked off and WCW was, gone, might have just been then, well, we've been always going to the Allstate Arena. Might as well just keep doing it. But that's actually the only time Chicago's ever even hosted a SummerSlam is that time at the United Center. Some other fun factoids and I guess some other cool things about SummerSlam. And another question I will ask to you. What is the only SummerSlam to ever have the year in the logo and on the apron?
Oh, that is a good question. Can I get a clue?
No.
Darn
it. It's not recent.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw a random date out because you stumped me. I really that was a good question. Full disclosure, I don't know these questions in advance, folks. So So I'm really thinking on the fly here. Oh God, I'll just say 1995.
No. And this is why it's kind of weird, right? Because you would think when they throw the year in there, it's to obviously distinguish. I remember a couple of years ago, WrestleMania, when they were on DVD, when they took the numbers out of WrestleMania, a lot of the DVD covers had to have the years on there so that you knew which was which if you were buying them and you weren't a huge fan maybe going in. But this one didn't need the year because there had never been a SummerSlam before it. SummerSlam 1988 has the 88 right in the logo as well as on the apron itself. So they never, well, that SummerSlam logo they used for 88 was used all the way up until essentially SummerSlam 1997 was the last time they used that logo for SummerSlam. So about 10 years worth of SummerSlams for that orange logo with the bar underneath. They can never reuse that specific apron because that specific apron had 1988 or the 88 right on the apron. I don't know why they had to have the year on the apron because, again, there had never been a SummerSlam before it. They didn't do that for the first Rumble. They didn't do that for the first Survivor Series. They've never done that for any Rumble or any Survivor Series going forward, or even WrestleMania. You know what I mean? They obviously had the numbers and then no numbers. So of all the big four pay-per-views, if you're looking for a logo with the year and in the logo itself, that's the only place you're going to find it. I don't know why they did it, but that's a little factoid there when it comes to SummerSlam. And I guess some final factoids. This weekend, SummerSlam 2023, we learned last year, SummerSlam, the earliest it took place ever on the calendar year was last year, SummerSlam 2022. It was on July the 30th. It had never taken place in July before. And this year's SummerSlam, very early on the calendar as well, just 1 week later than that on August the 5th. But this will not be the second earliest a SummerSlam has ever taken place in the calendar year. That distinction is held by SummerSlam 1997. That was held the day we're recording this on August the 3rd. And to show you just how random that was then, and the fact that it was on August the 3rd, here's the dates of all the original SummerSlams, 88 to 1997. The 29th, the 28th, the 27th, the 26th, the 29th, the 30th, the 29th, the 27th, the 18th, and then the 3rd. So it was really out of place for SummerSlam to be like the first few days of August in 1997 when it had been closer to the last few days of August. Like I said, 2 years prior to that, August 30th was SummerSlam. So to move it all the way to the beginning of the month was weird at that time. The next year in which it would ever get that close on the calendar again, because after 97 it was pushed back to the end, SummerSlam 98 was pushed all the way to the last day of August the following year. But the next time it would get that close on the calendar again would be 2004 when it was August 15th. And then since then, they've kind of gone to the back, but I think more recently we've had some, obviously, like I said, July 30th was last year. And if you go back to 2019, it was August 11th. So they've kind of played with that a little bit. Obviously, it seems weird that last year's was in July. But at WWE, they do this kind of thing where they have pay-per-views at the end of the calendar year. And then they move them up to the front. And essentially most pay-per-views this year, with the exception of the Royal Rumble, have been moved up to the front. We had Royal Rumble at the end of the month, Elimination Chamber near the middle of February. And then when WrestleMania came around, it's been at the beginning of the month. And then every pay-per-view, except for Night of Champions, which was a 2 pay-per-view month, has been at the beginning of the month. Money in the Bank was at the start of July. This is at the start of August. And then Payback is going to be at the start of September. But don't worry, because Crown Jewel will, I guess, fix all that in later October, and then we'll push Survivor Series to the end of November to finish out the year.
So I gotta jump in really quick, and I was just curious because I was trying to see what my favorite logos were over the years, and I was trying to see what year it was that I really liked. By the way, I was right because the logo for SummerSlam 95 is the legit thing. I'm looking at it right here, so I was actually right too. Just so you know, that was a lucky guess on my part. But I'm looking right here, SummerSlam 95. It's in the logo. But I will say that
check that out.
my favorite logos are from like the early 2000s with the green. I love that green SummerSlam look.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. Like that stretch where it was green for like, I don't know, like 6 years. Like that was my favorite logo. I obviously did like the gold banner as well. But me personally, the green SummerSlam, I've always
I
liked.
like those ones a lot because those were the years that SummerSlam meant a lot to me. Obviously, the triple threat match with Kurt Angle and The Rock and Triple H that one year, and then the following year, during the Invasion angle, 2002, Brock Lesnar beating The Rock with that SummerSlam logo. So yeah, that logo means a lot to me as well. I'd say the logo that probably means the least to me, even though I've attended a few under it, is the more modern star logo. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm looking up SummerSlam 95, and I'm not seeing what you're seeing because I'm seeing the logo without 95. Look up SummerSlam 88, I guess, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, where it's not like you're not looking at a VHS cover where they just happen to put the logo or the year on the VHS cover. I'm saying it's actually incorporated right into the logo.
SummerSlam '89 also had the number in there as well. I'm looking at it right here. Yeah,
I don't
SummerSlam '88 and '89.
I was going to say, I don't know what you're looking at because I'm looking at the aprons of SummerSlam 89 right now, and it just says SummerSlam on it. I think you're looking at some VHS covers. I think you're looking at some VHS covers of the.
No, this is a legit. This is from BT Sports.
Did they create a new? Okay, I see what you're looking at now. I think that was created after the fact. I guess here's where we'll stand on this. Go watch all of these SummerSlams. Go watch them on Peacock. Yeah. When they hit the air on Peacock, not with any post editing or anything like that, only one of them comes up where the logo comes up on the screen where it says live from such and such. And then the apron itself on the blue apron with the orange logo, it's got SummerSlam shrunken, so it can have 88 right there on there. But we'll move on from that, and we'll just kind of finish this out and talk about. Give me favorite SummerSlam moment, favorite SummerSlam match.
Oh God, I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now.
I'll kick off to help you out here. I think one of my favorite SummerSlam moments has got to be Steve Blackman, Shane McMahon getting hit with the kendo stick, flying off that favorite logo that we like, that old green one, doing the Shane McMahon spot, which coincidentally, kind of funny story there. I found out that the same day that he did that spot, obviously tables, ladders, and chairs, that match made its debut, the first ever TLC match at SummerSlam 2000. But during that same event, Shane McMahon went to those tag team competitors and reminded them the importance of safety in that match, knowing that they wanted to go balls to the wall, and reminded them the importance of staying safe during that match. And then later in the night, Shane McMahon does what he does. And it's tough for me, obviously, to have a favorite SummerSlam match as well. I obviously enjoyed very recently the Randy Orton or John Cena versus John Cena versus Roman Reigns. There we go, fixing that. John Cena versus Roman Reigns from 2 years ago for the championship. I thought that was very entertaining. I thought, a real shot at wondering if John Cena was going to end his reign right there. Last year's match, we never seen anything like that with Brock Lesnar picking up the ring with the tractor. I thought that was one of the more wilder things I've definitely ever seen. But I got to go probably British Bulldog and Bret the Hitman Hart from number 90 Wembley Stadium. That's got to be up there. Just to change it up though, I'm going to switch it. I'll say my favorite match is actually what I mentioned a little bit earlier in this: Owen Hart, Bret Hart, Steel Cage, SummerSlam 94.
You know what? I had to sit here and think about it because, there are so many great matches. I mean, a lot of them actually, like you mentioned earlier, Brock Lesnar is, Mr. SummerSlam. He's had great matches, I believe, with CM Punk like 10 years ago, something like that. Yeah. Like that was a good match. But for me, everybody knows, my favorite time as a wrestling fan was, as a kid particularly, was when you had those rivalry matches with Edge, Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudleys. That to me was a hell of a match. That was one of the best matches of all time, and it was Edge and Christian that went over in that match, if I'm not mistaken. I feel pretty confident about that. It's been a long time since I've seen that match, but that match to me, when I watched it, I just sat there in awe because just the moves, just the storytelling. That was so much fun. Like that to me was the best time in tag team wrestling. And the reason why I bring that up is because what did we talk about earlier? We talked about no tag team matches on SummerSlam this year. And my favorite match personally of all time was a tag team match. And that was in SummerSlam back in 2000. So That's my favorite. I mean, I could go Brock Triple H. I could go Brock Reigns. I could go Brock CM Punk. But I'm not going to go easy. I'm going to go with something I remember as a kid.
I mean, TLC's, I'm not saying that's a hard one. That's not some sort of diamond in the rough. That is a clear classic. Edge and Christian did go over. They beat the Dudleys and the Hardy Boys. And a fun factoid that we can add, we were talking about some statistics, some standings when it comes to these competitors. One person who I might see Friday night at a GCW show making an appearance, Jeff Hardy, he might be making an appearance at GCW this Friday night in Detroit. Jeff Hardy, the only WWE competitor with 6 or more matches that has 0 SummerSlam wins. He is 0-6 at SummerSlam. Nobody with 6 or more matches is yet to get a win. In fact, nobody with 5 or more. Baron Corbin is 0-4 at SummerSlam, but he is 0-6 at this event. Who would ever thought it? At that event, it was Edge and Christian going over in the inaugural Tables, Ladder, and Chairs. I think SummerSlam 2000 was just a great event overall. I think it's kind of weird because SummerSlam 2000 took place. We were talking about previous topics, but talk about a place where SummerSlam would definitely feel out of place now. And it's not because it's a bad arena or anything, because they got 18,000, but Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, North Carolina, great place, not too far from where the Hardys live and stuff like that. But now we're getting to 50,000 people in a major city like Detroit, last year Nashville, year before that Las Vegas, Madison Square Garden, all these places hosting SummerSlam. But that year, Raleigh, North Carolina, hosting SummerSlam at the brand new Raleigh Entertainment and Sports Arena at that time, as Carolina Hurricanes were just entering the NHL. But yeah, definitely a classic nonetheless.
One more match that how could I forget this match? Brock Rock 02. Like
that's what helps make him Mr. SummerSlam. Because nobody has a better debut. Nobody has been in the company for 6 months and has a better debut at SummerSlam. But one match I will say that I really adore on that exact card. We'll finish out, with the SummerSlam talk. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the return of Shawn Michaels to the ring in WWE. Not his official in-ring return, because there was some stuff where he was wrestling a match prior to that in one of the companies he was helping promote down in San Antonio, Texas, but his WWE return nonetheless. So his first time ever in WWE, because when he had left, it was the WWF, and when he returns about 3 years later, it's WWE. And he was worried, he was going to look bad. He wasn't going to have it. And, well, he looked so good that it ended up another 10-plus year run he had in him as a full-time competitor after that. But that was a classic nonetheless. A fun fact, SummerSlam 2002, I actually watched that event for free. And that was back in the day when it's hard to watch pay-per-views. It's hard to get anyone to buy pay-per-views, even take you to where pay-per-views are being watched. I was at the New York State Fair. Weirdly enough, New York State Fair, the Time Warner cable booth. We were walking by it about 8 o'clock at night. And I was trying to get my dad to take me over to Hooters to watch SummerSlam where they were playing it. He was like, all right, maybe we'll go over there. I want to check out this band that's playing at the free stage over here. And as we're walking to the free stage, I look over and I said, that looks like the SummerSlam pre-show. Can I go in? Because that is at the time where pre-shows or even just anything. Oh, my God. So I walk into this tent. The guy who's working the tent says, we're going to be playing SummerSlam right here on the thing, right here in the tent at the Time Warner cable booth. And I said, Dad, you go watch your concert. I'm going to stay right here in the booth. I'm going to watch SummerSlam right here in this tent. They even did some prizes. No one else. It's a Sunday night, so it's kind of dead, at this booth. And they did some prizes. I won. I don't think I still have it, but I won a cooler/chair that had SummerSlam on the chair that you could open the chair up and it turns into a cooler. But yeah, a really random place to watch SummerSlam 2002. Wasn't expecting to be standing outside at the New York State Fairgrounds in some sort of tent for Time Warner Cable to be watching a pay-per-view. I don't even know how they got the feed in there, but they did randomly.
Okay,
didn't attract a lot of other people.
I gotta stop you there. I know how they got the feed. It was Time Warner Cable.
The cable company. But we're at the fairgrounds here. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a random place to watch a show.
Very random place to watch a show. But those are some cool factoids and interesting statistics from 36 years of the biggest party of the summer.